Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 20th day of January, going right through the month. Divisional playoff games coming up this weekend. One of my favorite weekends of the year. Between this weekend, opening weekend in NFL, the games are more higher. The stakes are higher. The games are more exciting. You got better teams, better quarterback play. Can't wait. You got Carlos, Mad New Yorker Chavez behind stage. Going to ask him about the Greg Roman, Lamar Jackson situation there in Baltimore. And we'll go over this week's games in the NFL here, make predictions and whatnot. Stand by, folks. We'll get our first break in. And I'll be back in a minute and 19 seconds. Hello, Sports Scope followers. After 5 years of doing this program once a week, balancing a 60-hour work week job, I've decided to do the program 5 days a week, 1 hour a night, taking a significant pay cut. So I've started a Patreon page, which is Patreon, Patreon/SportsScope, spelled the same way at the bottom of the screen you see there, for $5 a month, 17 cents a day. You can help support the program. You ask yourself, why Sports Scope? Well, I bring in such big names such as Al Borges, former Auburn offensive coordinator, and I cover the big news in sports that the corporate media will not cover. If you want to contribute more than $5 a month, you can go use the Cash App. The cash tag is Sports Scope, again, spelled the same way. Or you can go to the Zelle app, sportscope@gmail.com. SportsScope has about 5,000 followers and growing. If you want to advertise on the program, you can email me. The word is SportsScope, spelled the same way again, @gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the program. I am now back here on all links. I want to add Carlos in there. Good to see you, man. Mr. Cool Guy, got the shades on.
Yo, happy Friday. Straight from New York City. I got something for you, Robbie Rob.
Man, you hear that, Pickles? Got a techno geek here. Look like I'm on MTV Friday night, MTV Raps here. Carlos said, Pickles says, hiya. Okay, now, let's see, where do we start? Okay, let me ask you, big news of the week. Greg Roman walks away from Baltimore, whatever you want to call it. What's your thoughts about him leaving Baltimore? And do you think that the Ravens work out something long-term with Lamar Jackson?
Walk away? He should have been fired 2 years ago, man. Walk away? I mean, we talked about it last season, before the season started. And the way his playbook doesn't really doesn't help Lamar Jackson and his skill set. They were missing a few players on that offense. They tried to make it up with some couple wide receivers here and there. They're just injury prone. So I think it's a little bit better that he walked away. Now they can rebuild that O-line, and that's the only way Lamar stays, right? If I'm going to sign a huge contract, you better give me somebody to protect me, because he can't start every season like playing 2 games and then sitting out 5 games and then playing 2 games and then sitting out 7 games. I mean, that doesn't work, man. And if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm part of his team, his agents, I'm looking for a team that has an O-line that can keep him, on the field as long as possible. You're going to get injuries. You're going to get injured. Things going to happen. He runs. That's part of his game, but you can't, you can't do what he's been doing in the last few years. And he was an MVP that 1 year because they had a great stout O-line. On top of that, they had a better defense that required him to get back on the field and kept pushing the ball down other teams' throats as well. So those things weren't happening after he won that MVP. So it's, I think, a better deal for the Ravens. And if Lamar doesn't come back, it's still something that they can look forward and build a better team, I think.
Yeah. The offense has regressed since that second year with him. I would say the line's pretty good. It's just Lamar's play is not that great.
The line's okay. They don't really have that many weapons. Dobbins is okay. I mean, if the line was great, then why would they stop running Dobbins? If they would have won that game.
Yeah.
They just quit going. They do what a lot of teams do, was go away from the run because, they think they can throw their way out of trouble, and then they suddenly throw their way into trouble. So, that's not a Lamar. That's not a Lamar thing, man. He's
that was a 14-point turnaround. Now, I did go back and look at that play on the stat line thing. You can do that, the play-by-play thing on ESPN. It was 11 minutes and something left in the game. So essentially, Burrow could have brought them back. But that was a big swing in momentum. I mean, fumbling that ball on the 1-yard line. And I've never been a fan of that, man, of lunging and putting the ball in harm's way. Belichick says he does not want his players doing that. He says we can get it on the next play. If it goes out of the end zone, it could be a touchback. And then, for God's sake, something happened Sunday night, and a guy take it back 100 yards the other way, And
like they lucked out because the weather wasn't that bad,
Yeah.
So when you throw weather in a mix, that just creates, havoc for everybody on that,
Yeah.
On that
so
line.
Do you think Lamar stays with? They're hinting at that between.
Yeah, there's news that he might stay there because Roman's gone. I keep telling you this, and I we mentioned and we talk about Lamar Jackson. He needs to. It's okay that his mom's part of his team.
Yeah, she's basically the agent. Yeah,
she needs to be surrounded by another somebody from another rep, a rep from another
CAA or somebody.
Just to make sure. And I'm sure they got lawyers and things, but you need one of those agents, power agents, to come in and just break ground. And heck, he should get what's his name's agent. He got a huge deal, right? He should get Deshaun Watson's agent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, I feel like Lamar Jackson's better than Deshaun Watson.
But it's only 3%. I thought it was 10. That's worth it. 3%, man.
So 3%, that's contractual, and then they do other things for the client. So it ends up being almost 10%.
Okay.
You gotta understand these things. They do marketing, they do branding, they do a lot of different things. So they're not getting paid. So don't worry about those agents.
And you've heard my take on. I'm not in love with Greg Roman, but I played some sound bites, and you look at what he did with the guy like who was it, Colin Kaepernick, when he was working with the other Harbaugh. Look at Colin Kaepernick's fall off afterwards. Then you look at the MVP season. I guess the only argument you can make against him really is the development of a passer. Is that really Greg Roman, or is it really just Lamar's not getting it? That's the key.
Well, okay, so who did Kaepernick have that he couldn't throw to? I mean, he didn't have that many good wide receivers when he was on that San Francisco team, and that San Francisco team was built more on defense, anyways. What's
that guy's name? Michael.
They had that tight end who sometimes showed up and sometimes he didn't.
Yeah.
So and then he got called out by Mike Singletary. What I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember that.
So it's not like it's been. Here's the thing, and this is what bothers me the most, is some of these guys, they're coming out of college systems that worked in their favor because these college coaches are kind of like limited, right? Mm-hmm. And like Lamar Jackson, even if you look at Kaepernick's numbers, they weren't that bad when they threw the ball in college. Now, and you always talk about, and a lot of people talk about development. Well, if you could put these guys on the field, you do have to worry about their development. If you want them to play, and the fastest and easiest thing for them to do is to run the ball.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't have it both ways. You want these guys to sit down and be developed, then you have to have a system for that. And then you have to put them in and work. If not, you just put them in and you play them and you get what you get until they get better. Right. I'm sitting here and people are trying to crown Daniel Jones and give him the quarterback position for the New York Giants. And I'm like, push the brakes. The kid that only played one good season. And, and everybody's like, oh, well, he hasn't been developed. Well, yeah, this is not the place to develop players, man. And if you're one of those guys who don't put, like you say, you got to put in the work. You got to go on.
Hold on, I got a good sound bite for you on Daniel Jones.
You want to crown them? Then crown their ass.
Well, there, yeah, let Dennis Green chime in. Okay, thank you, Dennis. We had to dig him up, man, and get one more.
I miss that, man. You know, and rest in peace, Dennis Green. I like that, DG. One up for, but you know, we kind of forget as fans. We want to, we kind of forget that there's a process, and these are kids growing up to be men, growing up to be star athletes, and we kind of just, we're looking at them to just get us into the playoffs, get us into the championship run, and we're forgetting that little piece. But that piece doesn't really exist in a lot of these teams. I told you, right? I keep telling you this. Yeah. You can't come into the NFL and develop players. That's not what the NFL is about. The NFL is about show me what you can do at the moment right now. Let's go out there and win. And if you can't do that, then guess what? The door's right there. You can go somewhere and try somewhere else because this ain't the place for you, right? So with that mentality, how are you going to develop these guys? Right. And you see draft night, every draft night, you'll see.
I do think some players do get developed. I think Jalen Hurts has really developed, come along. And what guy, I can't remember his name now. He's with the Jason Whitlock show. He said, guys like Rich Gannon developed late in his career. That's really an outlier, though. But what you're saying really is throwing a guy in raw, win now. That was my argument about Zach Wilson, so young, coming from BYU.
Yeah, and he didn't have no experience. And even if you take a look at talking about Zach Wilson here, if you take a look at all the information that was graded him out of college, right? Yeah. They were saying that he's similar to a Jeff Garcia. Now, if you're gonna pick this guy number 2, you got to think what kind of quarterback. I'm not saying Jeff Garcia was junk. He wasn't. But he was an okay quarterback, and he developed.
Probably wasn't a number 2 overall talent. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, he developed his skills in the Canadian League, right? Then came back and finally got an opportunity in the NFL. Took a couple teams to the playoffs, but from that point, as a quarterback, he didn't go further than that. Now, I'm not going to dog Jeff Garcia because he was a good comeback king. He had great speed, a good football player. But if they're rating this guy talent based on Jeff Garcia, then you're not gonna expect him to be, a Peyton Manning or Tom Brady type of player. Now, again, this is the problem that we have with our generation is that we see players like Aaron Rodgers, we see players like Tom Brady, we see players like Peyton Manning, and we're hoping, and when we do a draft pick, that those names kind of get rekindled in some of these kids. But that's not the way. That's not the way it happens. So I feel like
Pickle says. There and something, Pickle makes a good point. The league is a copycat league. There's a lot of fads in the NFL, and there's a very good chance that a guy like Kyler Murray never really regains never really gains of what he was prior to putting these system in and taking all these runs. And Jalen Hurts, maybe he has another injury like his shoulder injury. Maybe he goes right back to the pocket quarterback here, contrary of, trying all these other things. So that is a good point. You look at guys that run around a lot. I just mentioned Jalen Hurts with his sprained shoulder. We're talking about Lamar, right? He's missed 5 games the last 2 seasons. When you're playing 16 and 17 games, man, I mean, that's a third of the season. I mean, think about that if that's Major League Baseball, right? Yeah. A third of the season. I mean, you can't win like that. And then, he missed the playoff game before that. We're looking at guys like Kyler Murray with his injury. I'm still concerned. I know he's a big guy, but even Josh Allen, you really have to watch and I understand running to get away from, running from first down if a team's in the zone and everybody's backed up. But called runs, and I'm seeing more and more of it, man. It's really dangerous. Not unless it's like a naked bootleg. What Dak did the other day, I mean, that's fine. But these called runs are getting a little bit ridiculous. And the more injuries we're seeing in the NFL, if you're building a whole offense that way, I mean, you're playing Russian roulette with your career.
Yeah, and another thing is like,
if you're a coach or a player for that matter.
Yeah, when I talked on the morning show that we have with Keith
Engel,
Engel and on TGI Sports. Are you serious? And we're talking about what other quarterbacks can come in New York then? Who can replace them? And here's the problem and we need to understand this too, not just as fans, but the money situation. There's only so many top tier quarterbacks that are going to get 30 million plus, right? And then everybody after those 8 or 9 quarterbacks, maybe 10,
right?
But 10 stretching, 10,
that is a stretch. That is
true. Hart, I don't think is on the top tier, but that's neither here or there because people say he hasn't really been on a good team. But anyways, so those guys are going to get 30 million, right? That's because that's what the market is. But then you got the mid-level quarterbacks, the Tannehills, Jones is going to fall in there. And there a lot of those guys, and they're getting 15 million plus. But I mean, even if they're getting,
that's why I was so annoyed with when the Titans paying Ryan Tannehill 30 million plus. Well, that's why they're not in the playoffs right now either.
Right, and so, but now this guy has one good season, and they want to crown him, and they want to give him 20 million plus. I don't think so.
You know what? My proposal, if they're stuck with Daniel Jones, 18 million. You could do incentives, snap incentives, and because incentives really don't count against the cap. They don't count against the cap.
Right. So here's the thing, though, Robert. It's not my money. It's not your money. But if you're talking about New York and being able to stay and being able to afford him, I mean, 18 is still a stretch, right? Like I'm thinking between 10 and 15. Because he hasn't really proven himself. He just won.
Well, it's the most important position on the team.
Yeah, but he's only played one good season. Yeah. And the market is it's like I said, it's too much full of fluff that his agent and him, they have a right, and they have a right to
that's where you have that sit down and tell them the facts, the truth about things.
Right. And like I don't mind, like if it's incentive based, fine. Make it incentive based, help yourself. But don't put yourself in a predicament like and sign him and you have this Tannehill problem because at the end of the day, he is almost similar to Ryan Tannehill if you look at it.
Yeah. And people are talking about franchising him for $45 million. That's suicide.
And again, this isn't my money. But if you're looking at it at a financial situation,
if you're a fan of the team, it still comes out of the hard cap.
Right. And they still got to think about the other guy.
That's only $229 now, by the way, next year.
Yeah, and they got to think about the other guy who's actually helped this team and Saquon, and he's already said his team has already put out there that they're already looking to get what a little bit more than what McCaffrey or similar to what McCaffrey got from the Panthers.
Over 16?
Yeah, and come on.
I would just say, hey, look, man, we appreciate everything you did. Good luck with your future endeavors.
Go see what team will pick you up for that price. And if nobody does, then, we'll give you something else.
There's a sucker born every day, and I wouldn't be that sucker. So you're saying that they will sign back Barkley, or not Barkley, but Lamar?
Man, look, I don't control the money here in New York, and it's not my money.
Yeah.
As a fan, I say spend all your money and keep the guys here, and maybe try to make it work because you're still not guaranteed anything when you sign those two guys. But I don't feel like both of those guys are coming back. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay. You have a lot of contractual situation there in the plans.
So what you think? Are you with me? You think the Ravens here? And then I don't know if you're listening to yesterday's program, my program. I think the Ravens are going to bring him back. They're going to fire John Harbaugh. He'll be the fireball next year. He'll probably be with the Ravens another 2 years.
Yeah, if I'm Harbaugh,
I think they'll fire Harbaugh next year.
Harbaugh should have just left, man. Like, he had all the opportunity. He could have gone to a lot of different places. And like right now we have the situation in the NFL is 9 teams looking for an OC, right? That's crazy.
But I was saying, my point is, they're fire Harbaugh.
Yeah,
and I think eventually Lamar's going to be like a Taysom Hill guy. He'll hang around the league for until he's at least 31 years old, which is another 6 or 7 years, and he might get a guy. I think he's going to be hurt often. I think this is all you're getting out of Lamar. And anybody that wants to pay him, more power to you. And I hope the best for him. I hope he takes off and be a superstar. It's good for the league, but I got to call it like I see it, not like I want it to be,
I mean, look at all these middle-level quarterbacks that left their team and got paid, but they're really, kind of like lost in like gorillas in the mist, right there. You got Osweiler, who left and got a bigger pay. You have
he robbed the Houston Texans there, and they're still got a wanted list of
You got Knowles, right? He kind of disappeared into the he got a huge contract and kind of disappeared.
Lightning in the bottle.
Yeah, and then you got you got a couple guys in there.
Cousins, I mean, but I said they would get to the playoffs and probably not too far.
And they're getting 20. They're getting almost 20.
He's sitting at home. He's got I think he's got one playoff win, and he's charged the Minnesota Vikings about $100 million plus for that.
Yeah, so
go figure.
I mean,
and they're firing their defensive coordinator. How about you cut Cousins' salary to a third and go out and get some players? Then you wouldn't have to fire your defensive coordinator.
And I keep saying this: even if these two guys come back, Kafka's going out looking for a better job. He's the OC for the Giants. Wink is getting interviews for head coach. Those are the two guys that actually help that team more than Daboll, because Daboll just showed up and hired these guys, which is something that you're supposed to do as a head coach anyways. But don't fall into the black hole. You got to keep these guys around, because if you see that your team actually got better and your quarterback's actually playing outstanding, why would you lose this OC that you got now? And you see your defense is actually top is getting close to the top ranking in the NFL. Why would you lose your DC? Like, for me, it's like, get rid of those two guys and sign those two coaches, and you can bring in more players. I mean, you're going to get stuff for, you're going to have more space to move around. Plus, you still got to get rid of Galladay because he was no good.
Yeah, that was Dave Gettleman mess there. Okay, so any more thoughts about last week? That was a good transition. That seemed like that's your thought on the Giants. It's a pretty impressive win.
Yeah, they won, and I think that was a Super Bowl. The Eagles have got rest. They're getting their injured players back. They score, and their average score is 32 point something a game.
Okay.
Can the Giants' new defense, the defense that was supposed to start this year, that came back from injuries, that finally got together and played last week, can they keep it up? I don't know, man. And they're not scoring enough, and they can't be playing from behind to win this game. So they got to be careful. If they come out scoring, which is up to Saquon and the crew there. Daniel Jones needs to have a clean sheet. If they could come out and score 24 points. 21 and 24 points by halftime, and the Eagles have 14, they'll be okay. But if it's reverse, that's game, man.
Yeah. So, what do you think will happen? That's a good transition. What do you think will happen Saturday night? How does this game play out?
I think the Eagles are going to win. I think they're going to take it to the Giants. And they're at home too, man. There's going to be a rowdy crowd, and it's going to be hard for the Giants. They ain't never been in this position. Half of those guys ain't never been in this position. So, it's going to be harder for them. They got
What's your score in that game?
I think it's going to be like 28-24.
Well, we did not talk, folks, before the show, but let me give you my analysis of that since we transitioned there. First of all, I didn't know that. You probably know this because you listen to probably WFAN and all that. But the Eagles have beat the Giants 8 straight times in Philadelphia. I didn't know you know that, but I'm just looking at the box score. Jalen Hurts, by the way, full practice all week. This guy's not even listed on the injury report. Remember, he had that shoulder injury.
Right.
And I was a little concerned about that. Lane Johnson, full practice Wednesday, Thursday, today. A lot of talk about the right tackle there. They're like 2-10 without this guy. He's really valuable. Used to play left tackle. Now they've got a younger, more athletic player playing that left tackle position. There was a very scary injury. This is a lot of injuries hit the Eagles all at once, but they rebounded. This guy named Josh Sweat. I don't know if you remember this. He had like a lung injury.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like in the Bears game or something about a month ago. He's not even on the injury report. He's going to play. Very good pass rusher. Now, they do have a slot corner out, but it's not James Bradbury or Darius Slay. So I do think that they're going to be okay. They're pretty bleeping healthy right now. But I will say this, the Giants are also healthy.
Right.
The last game they played, where both teams played their starters, I mean, the Eagles beat the crap out of them. It was 48-22. Leonard Williams wasn't in that game. Adoree Jackson, their lead corner, he was out. Both of those guys will be playing with, who's that other guy's name? Dexter Lawrence or whatever. The tackle.
Yeah, Lawrence.
Yeah, Lawrence, the tackle there. And, of course, Thibodeaux, Kayvon Thibodeaux. So I do think that this team is very confident coming in. The weather, mid-30s, no precipitation. I feel like the Giants will probably keep it within that 7.5, and I swear, 28-24 is what I wrote down too. We picked the exact same score. Eagles win this game. This game could go the other way, but the Eagles, they're rested. It seems like, not unless they're really lying about Jalen Hurts' injury here.
Right.
I don't see the Giant. Pickle says the Giants pull off an upset 29-27. I look forward to seeing what both of these offensive coordinators, I've been really impressed. This is not going to be a very low scoring game. We all three think it's going to be, around 50-something points scored in this game, which I think is probably going to hit the over. That's really un-Giants Eagles like. It's usually like 21-17 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I see maybe like a hit and a fumble. The Eagles' defense is very underrated, man. I don't understand what these numbers are going on. But their defense, they play pretty good, and it's going to be tough for Daniel Jones to try to throw a long ball, man. I'm just going to say, and who's catching it? It's Hodges, is these guys from practice squad coming up. Like, who's catching? If Saquon needs to get about 200 yards for them to win this game, man. It's like,
yeah, he'll have to play the game of his life, and quite frankly, they're going to have to get a turnover somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Hurts re-aggravates that shoulder. Maybe there's a missed extra point or something crazy. They're going to have some kind of fluke play for the Giants to win this game. That's the reason why the Eagles are playing at Philadelphia. They're the better team,
Yeah, the Eagles have a good running game, though, and it's very balanced. And they do depend on Hurts stretching the field a little bit with his legs, but they have a decent running back and that can actually get yards and help that air game get started. So I don't see this. I don't see him having a hurt shoulder actually affecting them if they're going to run the ball anyway, because that's what the strategy is. It's been like that the whole season. They're not going to change it. Even though they got Brown and a couple other wide receivers, they're not.
Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, those guys, they usually throw short on them anyways. So
and he did run for a little bit in that last game. I think he had like 13 yards, no touchdowns, but that shoulder was still bothering him the week before the bye week. But now they've had the bye week plus the full practice all week. That really surprised me. I was really wanting to pick the Giants, Pickles, because I'd love to see Matt get some bragging rights against Jamie Pags there. But you got to call it like you see it, man. And the fact that the Eagles have beat the Giants 8 straight, that reminds me of the Jacksonville Jaguars and their winning streak against the Colts at home.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah. What do you think about that comeback there by that Jags and
I mean,
Chargers?
Again, like I mentioned earlier, these coaches are going away from what was getting them there. The Chargers had the ability to close the game out. They stopped running Eckler. They stopped even throwing to him. Yeah. I don't understand. That's like one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL, and you don't even
very good hands too. Very good hands.
So and you got him in there blocking. Of all things, no, I'm not going to say
he's really good in the flat, man.
Yeah,
that guy he would get a lot of passes if I'm coaching him.
I know people give me slack, but I'm not saying that he's not a good blocker. But man, if the guy has skill levels and assets, why got him out there chip blocking and throwing his body around when you should be giving him the ball and letting him run with it? Like that's what bothers me, man. The Cowboys are the same thing with Elliott. It's like he can run the ball. Why you got him back there trying to protect on some crazy play, man? Come on. It's crazy.
Yeah, and speaking of the Jags, I mean, you talk about a team playing on house money.
Yeah, man.
They were playing on house money last week. They could have very well threw the towel in and said, you know what, we're down 27. So, by the way, I've got a 3-0 lead on you to start the playoffs. You could probably still catch me. You never know. I thought you had that with the Chargers. Be honest with you, I went to bed.
I thought so too, because that was a huge lead. I was like, man, this is gonna be bad, right?
Right, and so they fired their offensive coordinator instead of Brandon Staley because that owner's a little cheap. He don't want to pay out extra ear out. He wants to try to make it work with Staley, and but you got to get, like I said, the Jags had a good crowd there. They kept their poise. I'm surprised that Trevor Lawrence didn't fold once he had all those interceptions in the first half.
Right.
He kept his composure. Peterson helped him stay. It was just a great little comeback there.
You didn't see Kirk and you didn't see Ingram get a lot of yards, but they got a lot of important plays, right?
Yeah.
And so they did good in that retrospect. Getting the ball moved around a little bit. They should have ran the ball a little bit more again, but in the second half they had better opportunities, and they did that in the second half. So, but they came back. They beat the Chargers. The Chargers, I don't know if they need a new OC, but
that's what they're looking for now. They went on and fired him. I think they fired the quarterback coach too.
They need to surround Eckler and Herbert with wide receivers that can stay and they can stay healthy.
Yeah, that's true. Both of them get banged up here, and they're both making a lot of money too.
Keenan Allen's
Mike Williams and Keenan Allen.
And how many games have they played? They probably played like 22 games combined together.
Yeah, that's true, man. You get a guy like Sean Payton that job, that team be hard to beat. Okay, so they played the Chiefs this week. These two teams did play back in week 10. Chiefs got off to a big lead, kind of got bored, got a little complacent, got off 20-0 lead, gave up 17 unanswered, tagged on another touchdown, 127-17. I think this game could kind of go probably the same way. Weather's going to be good for Kansas City, mid-30s, 60% chance of snow, light snow. It's going to be played late Saturday afternoon. Chiefs coming off a bye week, Andy Reid off a bye week. It feels like a 38 to, I don't know, a 38-20-27 type of game where maybe the Chiefs kind of go to sleep at the end. Maybe a 38-30. They're 8.5-point favorites, by the way. I don't know if I would mess with that point spread because I know Chiefs give up leads, but they're not going to give up the game. They are susceptible on the back end, though. They've got a lot of rookies back there. Their main cornerback is a rookie. Your guy you just mentioned, Christian Kirk, had a really good game against them last time. He had 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs. Jacksonville's going to play loose. The only way Jacksonville wins this game, man, maybe they probably have to knock out Patrick Mahomes in the game. A lot of interest, a lot of fluke turnovers. But it could be 27-19, and that's if the Jags defense shows up. I'm thinking probably closer to 38 pickles, but remember the Chiefs, they really teed off on the Steelers last year around this time, if you don't recall. So, like I said, 38-29, 38-30 Chiefs.
Who's the better defense, the Chiefs or the Jags?
The Chiefs are better up front against the run, believe it or not.
Right.
The Jags may have a better pass rush, but they're both weak on the back end. Both of them weak. So I do think both receiving corps will have a good game, and maybe Trevor Lawrence runs a touchdown in. Zay Jones finds a way to score every week.
I feel like this is a Mahomes-Kelsey connection game. They're going to have about 2 or 3 touchdowns between them both, and then everybody else is going to fall in the line after that. I just think the Jags, they're not deep enough. They're not old enough. They came back versus the Chargers, and I don't know how they're going to react after that.
It's hard to go on the road after a big comeback win, too.
So,
this could be a total. This could be 45-7.
If that happens,
the Chiefs get bored, though.
That's the problem. They played Tennessee, and they let Tennessee come back this year.
Yeah,
and they almost lost by that field goal. So, but the Jags aren't Tennessee, but they did beat Tennessee.
And that's the thing. If I'm the Jags, that would have been my game plan, Carlos, would be Travis Etienne would get like 30 carries in this game. He's a second-year player, you know. That's the only way you do it.
You gotta take the time possession away from the Kansas City.
Yeah. And you have to keep Mahomes on the sideline, but that's not the way Peterson coaches. He likes to do the stuff in the flat. And
I told you about him.
It's Andy Reid versus Andy Reid, by the way.
Much, yeah. So this game is going to get out of hand, and it's either going to be by Kansas City or by the Jags. And I feel like Kansas City, that they don't want to get beat by this team. They'd rather go down to Cincinnati. You know, like if you have a team to lose in the playoffs, don't lose to the smallest team.
On the Cincinnati. Okay, Belichick.
On Cincinnati.
That's a good transition. Now, Buffalo, they'll be playing at home against Cincinnati. And I was really hoping the Bills, I was reading about Micah Hyde. He's been air quote off of injured reserve since December 23rd, right around Christmas, but he's not quite. When you hear that term off injured reserve, they usually give him about a 21-day window. He's not quite there yet. He's not going to play. The Bills, though, him and Jay Crowder both, neither one of them are going to play in this game, but they've been out for a very long time. Bills they kind of went a little Kansas City and almost got their butt beat by Miami, giving up that 17-point lead the other day. But man, I was reading that the Cincinnati, they really got banged up physically against the Ravens, man. They've got 2 offensive linemen out, including their left tackle, Jonas Williams, and of course, Lyle Collins has been out. This Jonas Williams guy and their right guard, both of those guys are not going to play. Lyle Collins been out, so they're down 3 offensive linemen now, going on the road at Buffalo. Buffalo's 5.5-point favorites. I feel like this is a 28-20 Bills win and advance. That being said, hey, Burrow got sacked 9 times against the Titans last year, but Ryan Tannehill, Josh Allen, Ryan Tannehill's not Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to exploit that. Plus, they got a cornerback out.
What if Allen's trying to win games and throws the ball away?
Well, I think Allen will run in this game. I don't think he's going to get crazy and make that mistake that he made last week and give up that fumble like he did against Miami. But I will say this. I guarantee if they lose this game, that's going to be my open is Sean McDermott. I'll open, not unless something crazy happens in the Cowboys game. I'll open my show about how Sean McDermott, that's got to be the next move if they don't win this. They've got to win this game. Buffalo has to win. I think they will.
Buffalo has to win this game, but they
28-20 Buffalo Bills.
They still haven't established a running game, and that's very important to get the throwing game going. And in the throwing game, they're not doing that well anyway, so I don't trust them. I don't trust the defense keeps them in the game, but the offense sometimes gets the balls away. So, I haven't ever trusted them since McDermott's been there. So, now the Giants have half their team in management and in coaching staff. So, I don't drink the Kool-Aid, man. I'm just hoping that Cincinnati can play. It seems like the more players are out from Cincinnati, the better they play. The better Joe Burrow, the more consistent he is in throwing the ball. Yeah. The more consistent they are in running the ball. Like they're better balanced. Taylor, he does a really good job in setting up game plans. I don't think McDermott has an idea in hell what's going to happen when Josh Allen sees what he sees, and I think that's a problem right there. P.
Ron will probably have a good game in the flat.
But it is what it is. I see this game for the Bills. I think it's that's the end of the road for them. So, I think Cincinnati and KC will be playing next week.
So, what's the score?
I think it'll be close. I think it'll be 27-21, something like that. I don't think it's gonna.
But Pickles think if Cincinnati's going to go, they give up 40 points at home. Yeah, that would be an easy pick for me to say. Sean McDermott, this is your last straw.
Yeah, man, come on, win a freaking playoff game, bro.
He won one last week, but that's Miami and third-string quarterback.
I'm talking about to get to the Super Bowl, man.
Yeah, no, they got to really win the whole thing this year. I mean,
is this guy ever coming back? They brought him from LA, but is he ever coming back?
Who, Von Miller?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
No, I think he tore his ACL. He's done.
See, that's the thing. That's what Buffalo does.
I like the Bills to win. Cincinnati's got too many linemen out. You guys both pick Cincinnati. That will be the opening, not unless something crazy happens in the Dallas game. That would be what I'll open my show with. Is you have to look at McDermott, and you got to get this offensive-minded head coach. I like teams that are physical. I know that offensive-minded head coaches lately lack physicality. But that being said, look, I mean, the Eagles are pretty physical, and they've got an offensive-minded head coach. The 49ers are pretty physical. They got but and I've been a defensive guy my whole life, but here lately, it is what it is. These offensive-minded head coaches, how many games we got? We got 8 teams, right? We got one defensive-minded head coach, and that's the one you guys are saying is going to lose on Sunday. With the talent like Josh Allen that can throw the ball a country mile,
If he's not, if he's throwing to somebody that's on his team.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay. You and Pickles both like Cincinnati to play Kansas City, and I think that game will be in
Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
I think that's going to be in Atlanta. Then again, that may be in Cincinnati. I think that was actually going to be in Kansas City because Cincinnati had the less game. I think it will be in Atlanta if Buffalo wins.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to be interesting. And they've already started selling tickets. One half of the stadium is going to be Buffalo. The other half is going to be Kansas City. Of course, people get refunds. I was just reading that today. That's a side note for the audience. Okay, Dallas and San Francisco. I'll tell you what. I'm not pumping this up for my Dallas friends. This game can go either way, seriously. Because the way Cowboys are playing this year, San Francisco, they do have a rookie quarterback. And if this is a close game late in the fourth quarter, Dallas already feels like that's the first game. That's the first road playoff game they've won in 30 years last Monday.
So here, I was telling Keith earlier.
Can you believe that? 30 years. That's unbelievable how bad Jerry Jones and petty he's been.
Think about this. I was talking to Keith earlier today, and it's like, what if both of these guys get knocked out by the defense, right? Because the defense are pretty good. Micah Parsons, and then you got the San Francisco defense that has
Nick Bosa.
Bosa, right?
That's true, right?
What if both QBs get knocked out? The backup is Johnson, right? Yeah. And Cooper Rush.
Well, you know what, Cooper, I might take the Cowboys if that's the case. I don't think Garoppolo's going to be active, but they say he may.
It's okay. Josh Johnson.
Oh yeah, that would be bad.
Think about this. I told Keith. So we talked about McCaffrey being injury prone in Carolina at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
and I said to him, well, McCaffrey actually played, and he could be a good quarterback because he used to toss the ball to his dad and practice and all that. So he's got a decent arm, and he played quarterback in high school.
Man, you're trying to hex him, dude. That's terrible football.
Think about
Nobody's going to get injured. Let's not talk crazy like that.
Would you put Josh Johnson in, or would you just play the Wildcat and have McCaffrey throw the ball and run?
You know what? That's a good point.
Because
McCaffrey's making a lot of money. He needs to earn that money. Now, let me give you my analysis real quick. Now, let's go back a year ago. San Francisco went to Dallas. They held on to a 23-7 lead going into the fourth quarter. The great Jimmy Garoppolo, in air quotes, gives them an interception. Dallas rallies back 23-17. Remember, they had the terrible clock management issues.
Yeah, you couldn't down
they come up short. No, go figure. McCarthy gets a lot of criticism for that, rightfully so, all their penalties. But you know what? I'll say this. I've said this about 3 or 4 times already. Kyle Shanahan trusts Brock Purdy more now than he did Jimmy Garoppolo a few years ago. Jimmy Garoppolo, didn't he have 3 or 4 pass attempts in the NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers where they won that game going away?
Right. I mean,
he's averaging 20. Check this out. This is an interesting stat for the audience here. Brock Purdy averages 27 to 30 pass attempts. They scored 41 points last week. Every week I read some other player from the team compliments this guy. who was it? Deebo Samuel said he called a timeout in the first game. And it wasn't Kyle Shanahan. This guy's calling timeouts. He's calling audibles. Trent Williams, a left tackle. Two guys have been paid, though. Deebo Samuel was very surprised that Brock Purdy's calling timeouts, knowing that that's what Kyle does, Shanahan. And then Trent Williams, like, man, this guy's like a 10-year veteran. He gets off. He's a little nervous early in that game last Saturday. And then, he finishes well. He has the highest QBR of the whole weekend. He finishes up. And
even more than Daniel Jones.
Even more than Daniel Jones. So, yeah, it was the highest one of the weekend over Daniel Jones. And you also got to look at the fact that Dallas played Monday night. They lose 2 days. There's 2 ways they can beat you in the running game. They be in San Francisco. They still use Deebo Samuel. And, of course, they've got Christian McCaffrey there. So they're hitting the Cowboys there from 2 different angles there. Plus, the Cowboys have to travel. You can beat this team deep. Now, I think a guy like DK Metcalf had a really good game against them. Who was there? CeeDee Lamb. I think that they're going to take about 2 or 3 big shots, maybe 4 to CeeDee Lamb. They're for some reason, DeMeco Ryans, that defense, they do a lot of switching and stuff. And these guys get lost in translation, and they give up a lot of big plays at times. Not a lot of. They got a good defense otherwise. So that could play in the favor of Dallas. But like I said about the running back, there's so many ways that San Francisco can beat this team. So my thing is, it feels like a 31-27 49ers win. That's my prediction. What's your analysis? San Francisco, Dallas, like the old days, man.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that everything's working in favor for San Francisco as far as like health wise and their team built rallying for this
Pickles,
quarterback.
That's my score there, Pickles. 31-27.
Yeah. I feel like the 49ers are going to get that win, and the Cowboys are going to fall short because. Again, the Cowboys have this issue like they don't know who they're going to run, right? Who are they going to give the 20 carries to, 20 plus carries to? Pollard, or are they going to give Ezekiel Elliott? They give to whoever's got the hot hand, and then they do these guys wrong, man. They run plays when they should be running the ball. They're throwing these little short passes. When they should be throwing short passes, they throwing the ball long and having your guys go out there.
That is true.
Smacked around.
That is true.
You have CeeDee, you have Lamb out there, and Lamb, you could be making him look like a goat, but you're making him look like a freaking, lamb chop because he's getting hit up left and right, man. And so, and then Dak has to have a clean sheet like he did last game, and how often he's probably the most inconsistent quarterback right now, and because his team's the call and play calling is inconsistent. So I mean, everything's in favor for 49ers, but if the Cowboys could sneak one out of this, then this is probably the only game they could do it, right? So,
oh yeah, I think Dallas, like I said, that's a huge burden off them. First road playoff win. It's 1993, January 93. That was a 92-93 Cowboys.
Pickles even says that Cooper Rush will be playing in this game.
Pickles thinks everybody's going to be knocked out. Joey Bosa and Michael Parsons are going to be the storyline.
I told Keith
Taylor once knocked out Joe Montana in a game, by the way.
Yeah, I told Keith that, like, Josh Johnson, there's going to be Josh Johnson versus Cooper Rush.
God, you guys want to see bad football like that?
No,
are you kidding me?
But this league and the backups are probably right now one of the worst it's been in a while since like maybe the.
How Dallas runs the ball. Somebody's mentioned this on one of the stations I was listening to this morning. The problem with 49ers, sometimes they overrun plays on defense, and that's how teams used to get guys like Javon Kearse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they would do a hard count, and they would let Kearse overrun the guy, and when he would overrun the left tackle, they would just do a delayed handoff, and the guy to get 3 or 4 yards because Kearse is already in the backfield. They do that a lot with Joey Bosa, so that's how I've used a guy like a Pollard. He's a little bit quicker than Zeke. And kind of get them like with a delayed inside handoff or like a little shovel pass, something like that. That's how I would coach it.
Yeah,
And I don't get a lot of those shot plays. They're good at taking shot plays. So that would actually that would play into Dallas's favor doing those shot plays.
And what I saw too that was good for Dallas is that actually their tight ends, both the tight ends were making plays.
Yes.
And we're being there, extra blocking down the field for the extra 2 or 3 yards that the running backs were getting, especially Pollard. He got a little bit more yards. So they did the job, and they were committed to doing the right thing. When they get hit so hard and they don't catch, and they're running to the sideline, that's when Dak looks like he might just go down because there's not enough protection on that weak side, So and you can't just put Pollard back there or Elliott back there thinking that they're just going to clip somebody, because that's not going to work against a bigger line, defensive line in San Francisco. Everybody talks about Bosa, but they got three or four guys over there that can.
Oh, Armstead, that guy.
Armstead will wreck your life, man.
Kinlaw.
So
that's a lot of beef there.
Yeah.
And they got the best linebacker in the game, this Fred Warner guy. So this ain't Tampa. Tampa's all banged up,
Right. So this is going to be a game that Dallas needs a play perfect and just get points, and that's not how Dallas plays, unfortunately. And the kicker needs to
this guy, and they're kept him. They signed somebody else, but they're letting him play.
Victorino, yeah.
Man, 4 missed points. I mean, geez.
They called me, but I wasn't available.
Yeah. Well, they got to get those soccer players there. Anything else you need to plug, man? Any more shows you work with?
Right now, just I'm on Friday mornings with Keith on Are You Serious? We're together on Friday nights. I'm looking forward to maybe putting together a couple more things. I'll send you some info on that once I get it going. But just watching these games, everybody, be safe.
I gotta get your PSA in there.
No, you gotta stay safe. The weather's gonna be acting up here coming this week for the Northeast. So
is it really?
Yeah, there's a few things, but not until after Sunday. It's gonna be like around Wednesday. For some people earlier, those Canadians up there.
Now, is this Victorino, guys? Is he starting over the Blair guy, or is he just a backup?
Over Mayer? I think he's just a backup, man.
Mayer, yeah.
Because look, understand this, people and fans that are getting on this kid. He was almost like one of the best kickers in the NFL this season. So
was Mike Vanderjagt before he got cut. Remember him?
I mean, but so like
with the Colts.
You have every once in a while you have a bad game. Unfortunately, he had a bad game on a playoff day. So, that's the only bad thing, man.
So it's like golf, man. Somebody says it just gets in your head, and it's like the yips or something. You
can't
hit the ball right.
When he kicked them, it didn't look like that he was gonna miss, but the ball just said, "We're not going in the hood. We're not going."
Man, I thought it was like watching a replay. I couldn't believe that he missed all 4 of those extra points, man.
Now you see a
what
guy.
If Tampa comes back and wins that game? I mean, they're gonna blame that guy. Just man.
You're seeing people in those box.
Pickle says he could get tossed if he misses the opening extra point or a field goal, a chip shot. This guy, they'll bench him and to put this big.
You think so? Just by missing one?
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. It's like the Bears. Remember that time they played? Who was it that went up there and beat them one year? Oh, the Eagles. The Eagles did, and their kicker had been great all year, but he missed that field goal, man, in 2018. That was after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I don't know if you remember that. Eagles go up there, they beat them, but this guy misses like a pretty easy field goal, and of course they cut the guy. And he had a good game, good season, but you gotta hit him when the money when it counts.
Do the Grammaticas have any kids, man? They need to bring them up.
Right. Does Vinatieri have any kids?
Automatica, Grammatica, remember those guys?
Yeah, Grammatica, yeah.
They had like 4 or 5 guys come up, man. Their whole family was kicking in the NFL.
The Anderson guys. Tennessee used to have some Will Hoyt.
Yeah, I remember Will Hoyt. Yeah, the punter.
Yeah. So, all right, man. I will see you later. Man, you got to turn on some of that techno music here.
You want me to techno?
Yeah. We'll be back next week, everybody, with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez and his techno beat here.
Techno geeks, man. Techno geeks.
You keep listening to that music, man, you're gonna be an offensive coordinator somewhere.
Yeah, right. They're not gonna call me because they don't have to pay me.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. I can't wait to see what I'm going to open up the show with Monday after all this.
Yeah, man. Good luck on all your shows, man. Have fun, bro.
Thanks, buddy. See ya. Thanks.